Hey everybody, welcome to another CNC Q A Podcast. Hope everybody's doing well. Let me bring my crew in here. Got Mr.
Hey.
Paul with us tonight. How you doing, Paul?
Doing good, thank you.
And of course, my buddy Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing all right, Dave.
Good, good. I think I think we got who we have over here. Okay, Marcelo's in the house. Marcelo, just so you know, I think you're still in the lead in the challenge. I think you're the only entrant so far. So I guess by default, that puts you in the lead. So, anywho, all right, tonight I was going to, as I mentioned last week, I was going to glue up a big, or kind of big, ain't really big, blank to use on the rotary axis, and we can see just how big we can make it work. So let me share my screen over here, and I'll show you what I've done here. I had a couple of pieces. This is actually some scrap maple that's from that blank that I cut that cross out of a few weeks ago here on the show. And with a cross shape, you end up with a fair amount of drop. So I took these two pieces, I glued them together, and then once I got them glued together, I took them back out to the miter saw and shaved off one end just to clean up the end, and then cut the other end at 7 inches. And that's what I had kind of hoped that would fit on this thing. I kind of held it up there to the rotary axis and thought, well, I think 7 inches will work. So anyway, so I got that glued up, and then I got my trusty little center finder out and found the center on both ends. And then I had talked about doing this. I finally found those. They were in one of the drawers over there. I just didn't pull out the right drawer the other night. But these are just these little round plugs that you can see that's just some scrap plywood. And I like to glue them in the center, and it gives the chuck something to hold on to without, and then giving you the full 7 inches of the material. So I got that glued on there, and slide on up here. There it is after it's dried. And I take a set of calipers and I measure this. This is 1.5 inches. This thing ended up not being exactly square. It was like 2.92 one direction and 2.8 something, 87 or something like that the other way. So I just kind of take the calipers and set it up and try to, make sure when I stick this on here, I get it centered as I can. And it doesn't really have to be perfect, just because I'm not trying to cut right to the edge of that blank. I'm going to be cutting well into it. So, and then I tried to fit this on the rotary axis. And as I said, one of these sides I think was 2.92 measuring across here, which means when you go catty corner here from corner to corner, it was showing just a hair over 4 inches. And I thought, well, I bet you that's not going to work. And sure enough, when I went to put it on the rotary axis, it just wasn't quite enough. So what I did is I took it out to my shop, put it on my bandsaw. And the reason I'm showing you a picture of this bandsaw is not because I have a great bandsaw. It's because I wanted to remind myself to tell you, when you go lop the corners off of these things, don't try to do it with your table 90 degrees to your blade and try to hold that blank, balancing it on one of those corners and try to push it. That's a recipe for disaster. So tilt your your table on your saw. That way you can keep the material flat against the table. Some of them turn this way. I've seen it bandsaw the other way, but most of them I think turn this way. But you can see here, I didn't have to take a whole lot off, and this is all just freehand too. I didn't try to set up any guide or anything to be real precise with it. And you can see when I get, I think, one of these other photos here. Yeah, you can see how it's not exactly straight. It's just like all I was trying to do is get enough off of here to make it where it fit. And I think this is all I've got in a video. So I think this is where I tested it. And you can see there's a little gap there. I didn't even have this chuck tightened up all the way, but just kind of had it hanging in there. I was just seeing if it would clear. And that cleared okay.
She close.
So then you can see what I did. You can see I'm really maxing this thing out because there I've got that in the thing here. This is 7 inches long, this blank. And you can see that the tailstock here is pretty much backed all the way out. And then I'm on the last set of holes here. So this is about the max you're going to get in there. And again, I'm using this little round piece because that helps not waste any of the blank. So, but anyway, before I show this, which is not, this really kind of boring video, let me bring this up and show you how I did this this round. In fact, let me because you can't really see anything. So I'll kind of go through it again with a new one so you can see how I do this. So when you're going to take a square piece of stock and make it round, you want to select the rotary for the job setup. Like I said, the job size was 7 inches. And I want the diameter of this to be about 2 3/4. Doesn't have to be, I think I knew I could get that out of it. And then I had the 0 position here in the center of the axis here. And then I also set the XY datum over here on the right, which means it's going to be out on the end, which you might have been able to see. Well, it's already moved, I think, but it starts out here on this end. That's where the 0 for the X is set. And then I got along the X-axis here, and that's all I need there. So you click OK, and then you come up here to this gadgets and come down to where it says wrapping, and I want to create the rounding toolpath. So this is going to already have all the numbers I used in it because that's what I used last time. But you can see I picked the bigger of the two sides. Like I said, if you measured across one way, it was 292, and I think it was like 287 or 281, so it was smaller the other way. So I picked the bigger of the two and said, okay, this is my size of my square blank. This, you can put this in. I don't think it really matters. That's what I'm telling it to do. And then the machining method, I tell it to use the optimized raster, which means what it's going to do is it's going to machine the corners off first, or the high places. It's going to do those first. And then it will come, once it gets all of those knocked off, then it comes around and it turns and goes all the way around the cylinder to get it all cleaned up. So, and I'm telling it to leave about 30 thousandths on the cylinder there.
This so is it doing one corner at a time, or?
Yes, you'll see it in the video in just a second.
Oh, okay.
And you need, when you start it, well, I'll wait and show you when I get done here. But anyway, I'm using a Downtown Jenny as the tool to do this. It doesn't have to be, like a tapered ball nose or anything. You'd be surprised how smooth it gets even using a 1/4 inch because it's going round. So, and then down here, the cylinder dimensions are going to be 7 inches and 2 3/4 inches. And when you click that, it will then create this rounding toolpath. And there we go. So basically, I don't know how well it would probably do it too fast on this thing. Let me try slowing that down. No, that's too slow. Nah, it doesn't really. Yeah, it's either all or nothing, looks like. But anyway, if I come back to the video I had here, let me see if I can back it up. I don't know if I had it. I don't think I caught the very start because I was trying to start it and I didn't have a tripod set up, so I didn't have enough hands to grab the camera and all. But anyway, this is just a series of videos. Here it's already started. You can see you start out with one of the flat sides with it turned with a flat side straight up. And then when you start it, it knows that the flat side is straight up. So then it knows to turn a little bit and start working on the corner. And here you can see, because I picked the larger of the two sides, sometimes it's not even hitting anything. And here you can see it's already started to round that nearest side that's nearest to us there. And it's not really taking a whole lot off because it doesn't have to take a whole lot off to get down to that 275.
Yeah, because you've already ripped the corners off anyway.
Yeah, that's true too. It doesn't know that I've already knocked those corners off though. That's why you see it cutting air sometimes when it starts on a corner. It'll go back and forth a couple of times and not hit anything. So we don't have to sit here and watch all of this because, like I said, it's just a matter, at least the way I do it. You could set it up where the rotary turns and the X only moves a little bit. I like to do it this way simply because, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but when you do it this way, you're always going with the grain because, almost always you're going to have the grain running long ways from the headstock to the tailstock. Where if you go the other way, you're cutting across the grain, and it might cut real smooth going one way, and then when it turns to go the other way, then you get fuzzy. So I like to go this way. Plus, I just don't like, to me, I just think this is easier on the machine for that A axis to only have to turn just a degree or two or whatever it's doing. May not even be a degree.
Yeah, I think when I've done the rotary with the Bob CNC Revolution one, the toolpath was going around, and it always kind of frightened me because of the as it's spinning around, you're nicking that corner off, and it just felt like it was just abusing the bit because it's just
Yeah,
with the grain is a whole lot.
I have. Well, obviously there's a reason, I'm sure, why Vectric has it where you can set it up and do it different ways. And you could even set it up to do 45 degrees where the rotary axis is going to turn and the X axis is going to go back and forth. So, there's and there'll be some people that will talk about, always use 60 degrees or 45 degrees or whatever. I've always done it this way, going straight down the X axis along with the grain. And again, even when I'm doing the finishing pass, if you have that step over really small, I don't think it makes any difference because I have done it the other way and I just don't like watching it run the other way. I always expected something to go wrong when the rotary axis is having to do a lot more work. And anytime you see I got the tailstock in there, like I said, I've got it pretty much maxed out, but I did uh, get it tightened up, and you know, because when you have a pretty good sized piece like this, I mean, it's not that that piece is that big, but for this size rotary, it's pretty big. Uh, I like to have support on the other end too. But that's basically all it does is go back and forth, and once it gets all the corners off, then it will uh, go all the way around and won't skip the spot in between the corners. Jerry asked if the NymoLabs Rotary larger than the Jinmitsu. I don't really know, Jerry. I did a review on the 4040 Pro, and I also did a video with the Rotary Axis, but I don't have it anymore, so I don't have it here to compare with the size of the NymoLabs. I would guess they're pretty much the same. Okay, there it's done. So it does a good job, even with a quarter-inch end mill on it. Let me see if I can hold that on the end here. It's nice and round, and it's really pretty smooth considering you're not trying to make it smooth. It's just a regular end mill. But it does a good job. So then once you have your blank prepared, and I'll come back here. This is what I thought I would try to run between now and next week. Yeah, I've already got this one set up, but we've gone through this before. If anybody's got any questions about how I program this stuff, well, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I pretty much do all my stuff the same way. Once I find something that works well for me, I usually stick with it. There's the roughing pass. First two were a pocket on the front and the back side. And then again, I always use that 1/8 tapered ball nose for the finishing pass, which will be coming up here in just a minute. This is another little freebie from Thingiverse. They call it a Coke bottle, but it doesn't have the name Coke on it. I guess they didn't want to get in trouble putting that on there or something. But
it's a cola bottle.
Yes, it's a cola bottle, I guess. But I thought because of the size of the blank that I was going to end up with, something like that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
And again, I'll run this between, I'll do the roughing pass and the finishing. I may save the finishing pass for the show as long as I can figure out how long it's going to take. And I may save it for the show next week. But I know and here you can see, like I said, I use these pockets. This first pocket is to do this one back here. This one is to do this here. And notice I'm leaving a little bit because when you get done, you can get your little Japanese saw and cut this off. But you still got something plenty good to hold on to here. because see, remember, I've got that little round piece that's hanging out here. It's not even part of this. It's holding the chuck. And then this, by leaving this little bit here, and I could even make this probably a little bit smaller, but I can take that saw again and cut that off, do a little sand in there. But that way I've got some support on this end, since this one is, like I said, it's not a real big thing. I think the Coke bottle is 6 inches, but that's big for this little old rotary axis. So I figured I would leave something so I can keep the tailstock engaged here, especially since on the last one I had trouble with that coming loose over here. So I will definitely be staying out here watching this one when it runs this one.
Yeah.
But oops, I got to get over here to hit this. So anybody got any questions or anything about that? I guess that was the only question we had, was the size. I just don't know, because it's been well over a year since I've had that Genmitsu rotary here. But you might could just watch that video and kind of look at where it is on the table. I would say it's about the same size, but don't hold me to it if it's not. But anyway, once again, that's just another example of how you can take a STL file from Thingiverse or something that's really made for 3D printing and use it right here. It would work fine. And really, if you were really sure that you could hold on to it on that end, you could almost not, run the tailstock for a little while and then right near the end back it off and let the tool come on down and clean all that up and finish off the top. But either way, it's flat on top. You just cut it off with a saw and sand it a little bit. It will look okay.
Sweet.
All righty. And we don't have many people in here or something. I don't see any questions. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. That project, I went ahead and put out that video, but like I said in the video, that's really just kind of phase one. That's the main part of the building that was built in 1908. And then in 1928, they added the gymnasium part and some more classrooms in the back. And I have already started working on that part of it as well. But I figured since I got that much done, I'd go ahead and put a little video out, because every time I post a picture on Facebook, I would always get people ask me, how are you gluing that together, or how are you, how's it attach, and all kinds of questions on how I was doing it. So that was kind of what that video today was about, is to show that it's placed together. And of course, the other thing is too, not only the gymnasium addition, but the whole building, there's nothing inside of it right now. I haven't put any floors in it. I don't remember the floor layout. I'm trying to talk to some people on Facebook that are a little older than I am. I only went there first and second grade. So, when you're 7 or 8, you don't remember anything. So, I'm trying to find some people that went there and went in different rooms. I probably only went in 2 rooms, that and the gymnasium. Everything else, I was too little. I wasn't in all them other classes. So if I can find somebody and I have got some people that are trying to rack their brain now. They're thinking about it. So I hope to add some rooms. And if not, just so it will look right, I'll probably put some rooms and stuff in there and put some lighting in there and stuff like that just to make it look better, even if it's not correct. Because, there's no way I'm ever going to know it's correct or not anyhow, because we're going off my memory and photos and other people's pictures.
Nothing.
What was that? I missed something.
Oh, Jerry was asking what Paul and I have been working on this week.
Oh, okay.
I finished up my Gatton Christmas challenge ornament.
All right.
Nice.
Alan, you can't use every 3D print file because with 3D prints, if you go to print something and it needs support, you just check enable support, put it on there. But with this, you can't really do that. That's why I say you have to kind of figure out how to put a little stub on the end and maybe one on the other end, so that you can do stuff like bottles and spindles and certain things. Now this is a 3D printed one, but I ran this angry tiki guy, ran him the other day. But like this one, and again, this is a 3D printed one. Let's see. I guess I got the other one in here. Yeah, I left it in here. With this, I'll show the 3D print one first. This is it's like a totem pole. It's called the Marvel characters totem pole or whatever. And you see you've got Ryan. Who'd you say this guy is with Thor? Okay, so he's got these things sticking out of his helmet and a couple little ones on the front here. Well, when you go to run those on a router, that one did okay. That one broke off. And then on the front, that one's okay. And this one broke off. So, something that's really going to be fragile, you got a sharp, spinny bit trying to cut stuff with a router, whereas a 3D printer is just adding to it. So it's easier to do those kind of things, with a 3D printer sometimes. But if you pick the right thing, you can you can run things like I've done. I should have brought it out here because I've got one sitting in there on my desk. But I've done a bust of Albert Einstein, and again, I had to leave a little stub on the end for it to finish running. And when it got done, I take the Japanese saw and cut it flush. But not every 3D print is a candidate, but a lot of stuff is. You just have to, and you'll know when you're looking at it if it's got overhangs or something fragile. Like if you got a character that's got his arms sticking out or something, forget it. It's probably not going to do that. So, let's see. John's got another question about the school. Did you 3D print the roof, or is it painted board? It's actually painted cardboard. It's courtesy of the U.S. Postal Service. It's one of their. I like using their boxes because it's that thin cardboard, but it's pretty sturdy. And this is one of the prototypes over here. This is one I started to use, and then I didn't like where it had a fold. After I painted it black, where there was a fold in the box showed up too good. So I tried to put some stuff on it and sand it. And then I thought, heck, I'm just going to cut another one. But if you can see, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell. You can see I've reinforced it, gluing some strips of wood to help keep it flat across here on these long places. No, it's just like I said. It's if you look, you can see where it says priority mail post. Don't tell them. But this one was actually, if you look, there's only a slit here and here. So when you fold it in the flat, you've got a V right here between these two, this spot and this spot. And then this, what I did, and I don't think you can see it, but I told it to score a line right here just so I'd know I could take a ruler, or I think I just used a piece of wood and put up there, put it on the edge of the table and then take it and bend it up like you do a press brake. And the same thing here, I scored right here. But yeah, this was the one I was going to use, and then I've run the roof about 3 times till I finally found one I like. And that little section, it's a hip roof, but you got that small section that juts out from where the main entrance is, and it was actually more difficult to do than the big roof as far as getting it on the first try. I nailed that big part on the first try, but it took me a few tries to get the other one just the right angle and all that. So that's big enough.
Home show in March for my solar company and the Christmas lighting company. The little green car is supposed to be part of my display for the solar side. And just because it brings people in and to look at it and stuff like that. Anyway, this past year I bought a grill gazebo type thing. It's like 5 feet deep and less than 10 feet wide, or it's like 7 feet wide or whatever. But the little car fits right underneath of it, and it looks like it's in its own little garage.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. I just thought of one other thing I meant to mention here. Let me share my screen again. Nope. Now I can. All right. Let me bring this back up for a second. If you look at this, where the router is in relationship to the mount here, notice how it slid way up. Well, again, that's because I'm using a big old piece for this rotor. Like I said, this just about, I don't think you're going to get one much bigger because you saw how close it was when I started turning it. So even if you started with one round, it's, maybe just under 4 inches is as big as it's is going to be. But so I had the router slid way up here. Well, as y'all know, I like to set my Z0 using the table over here. Yeah. So what I did this time, I knew that since I had that router slid up so high, and you have to be careful because when you hit cycle start to start, first thing this thing does, it goes up to whatever the safe position is. So I knew I was going to have to keep this way down here. Well, when you do that, then it won't reach when you come over here to do the set the Z. So what I did is I took a 1, 2, 3 block, and this is exactly 2 inches if you do it this way. So I set this down, and then I set my probe on top of that. So after I zeroed it off and it goes up 30 millimeters, it thinks the top of this is 0, so it's really 50.8, and then it raises 30, so it's really 80.8, and then I need to come back down to 60 to be 60 above. So I had to just take the pendant, dial it down until I got it exactly, and then zero the Z out again. And that's how I did that. It works a lot easier doing this instead of trying to play around with the location of that and get it, because I'm not even sure I could have got it where it would do both, not top out when it goes up and still come down and reach the probe if I had it all the way to the bottom. So I don't think it would have made it. So just easier if you got something that's a known thickness to
Got a
use.
question there, Dave.
Do I have a video how to change the GMP card? No, I do not, because I haven't changed the GMP card. I
What
think
is
you mean MPG card. Manual pulse generator. You're talking about the pendant, right? But it should be pretty easy. I mean, when you pull the cover off, don't pull any wires off until you take a picture of it. And then make sure you look at the picture before you start pulling wires off to make sure that you can see everything you need to see. If you have to take 2 or 3 pictures from different angles, do that. But it should be just pull one out, pull the old one out, and replace it with the new one, and it should work fine. And I just realized that was Mike, I think.
Yeah, it was Mike Storms.
Okay, yeah, Mike. I hope you understood what I was talking about the other day. Because you had asked me how to change the homing position, and I said, well, it's $1.23 if you put it at I forget what the number is now. I don't have it in front of me, but you can make it go home to the back right, which I see that you did. But then in the video that you posted and said that the pendant wasn't working, I couldn't help but notice you had the machine all the way to the back, all the way to the right, with the Z all the way up. And then when you were turning the pendant and saying it wasn't working, you were turning it clockwise, which is it can't go anywhere because you already had it as far up and as far back and as far over as it would go. So, I mean, your pendant might still been bad or something wrong, but you couldn't tell it by that video because there's no way it would work turning it the direction you were turning it. You need to be turning it the other way.
Said he got the new one today.
Okay. Good deal.
Alan had a question here too. I have a buddy who CNCs chess pieces on his rotary, is wondering if one could use a 3D printer file as a basis to start with. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's what these are. In fact, that'd probably be the best way to get one to start, is because if you go to Thingiverse or something, you can get, you don't have to go get just one. You go get the whole set. There's people that have the whole set of them on there. So, but yeah, this is a queen. The other one's a knight. And when I had my Gatton CNC set up out here with that bigger rotary, I've done the king and what's the other ones, bishops and pawns. And I'm not a chess player, but
There was a little additional discussion in the chat about it, and then saying that you didn't necessarily have to have a rotary to do them, but Alan was saying that wouldn't the rotary do a better job than doing a 4-sided carve on it? And I would say probably, yeah. I mean, it really just depends, but
well, I've only done chess pieces with the rotary, and I wouldn't
yeah,
want to try to do them with a
yeah,
3 or 4
it'd be
sided
tough, but
flipping and all that. So
yeah,
because at least with the rotary, you put it in the chuck and it's in there one time.
yeah,
So that's all you have to worry about.
yeah. Be interesting though. But yeah, rotary would be the way to go with that.
Yeah, they're not, they're not going to be super fast, but then neither would the other way, I wouldn't think. So, uh, at least, like I said, at least with the rotary, you're chucking it up one time. And some people don't even do a rough pass. They just do it all with you. I don't like to do that. I like to do the roughing pass and make it where the finishing pass is only taking a little bit off, because that way you can really crank it up. Like I said, I don't like to go with the rotary doing this. I like to go back and forth across the X with the grain, and then just have that rotary is only having to turn, just depending on the size of your project. Sometimes it's not even turning a half a degree. You can't even hardly see it move.
Yep.
Your step over so small. But that way you can keep that X just humming.
Are Jenny bits worth the investment? Absolutely, they are. They're great. That's the only kind of bits I use anymore.
Yeah, now I still have other bits. I have Whiteside and CMTs, but it's only because I already had them. I haven't bought any new bits other than the Jenny bits, because like Paul said, once you try them, there's no sense in trying anything else.
Yeah. Yep. Cody makes a good bit. That's for sure.
I think he's going to have a sale coming up, isn't he? Or has it
He
started?
had a Black Friday sale that
Friday.
ended on Monday. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. But it's like anything, you get what you pay for. So
Yeah.
you might look at on Amazon or something like that and go, well, gosh, I can get 2.5 bits for what I pay for a Jenny bit, but you're not going to get near the quality.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they'll dull out or break a lot faster.
Yeah.
Than the Jenny will.
Yeah, the only way I've used up a Jenny bit is breaking one. And I broke one the other day, and it was just something stupid where I hit the button and I knew I'd screwed up, but I couldn't get to the stop button quick enough. So it snapped right off. And I hated it because I know that thing was still sharp. I could have used it a lot longer, but I did have two of them. So, in fact, the one that you're seeing in this video, I had to take out of my Avid because I kept thinking, I know I got another one somewhere. I always forget I have one in the spindle of that Avid over there. So, but yeah, the best thing to do is try to catch those on sale and buy a few of them that way, and you won't regret it. What's that old saying? Cry once, buy once, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think Gene Berg of VW fame always said, "Buy the best and cry once."
Okay, Alan said he doesn't have a rotary yet, but hope to get one in hand. See if there's anything.
Mike's got another question here for you.
Yep.
When I bought my 5040, it came with a water-cooled spindle. When are those primarily used?
All the time.
That's all I ever use.
Yeah, you're not going to want to swap it out. I mean, if you put it on there, that's going to be what you use.
Yep. Yeah, you'll use that instead of the router or whatever, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, just remember, because people always say, well, and I've got an air-cooled spindle over there on the Avid, and I had a water-cooled spindle on my Gatton CNC. So I've had both. And you always have people that go, well, I'm going with water-cooled because they are so much quieter than an air-cooled spindle. Well, that's only slightly true, and that's only talking about when it's the bit's up in the air and they're both spinning. The air-cooled spindle is a little bit louder because it's got air blowing through it to keep it cool. And you can only go down to, at least with mine, you can only go down to about 8,000 RPM. They don't want you to go any lower than that because then there's not enough air created by the fan to keep the thing cool. But with a water-cooled spindle, you could do 25 RPM if you wanted, or 10, or however low you could get the dial to set, and it'll run and be cool. And it is quieter than an air-cooled. But, and you knew there was going to be a but, when the bit hits the wood, all bets are off because they're all loud. It's the bit hitting the wood that makes all the noise.
The one thing I like about the water-cooled spindle over air-cooled spindle or over a router is it doesn't blow the chips all around. That
That's
fan
true.
that's in it doesn't blow the chips all
That's
around.
true. And another thing, it doesn't really matter whether you have a router, a air-cooled spindle, a water-cooled spindle, whatever. If you're running dust collection, that's probably going to be the noisiest thing in your shop.
Yeah.
No matter what kind you run, whether it's a shop vac or some other little super quiet thing, they're all noisy and probably noisier than the router's going to be, or the spindle. It might be a toss-up between a router and a dust collection because they're both pretty loud. All right. Anybody else here? I got behind on the. Oh, I guess they were doing a lot of talking about the.
My wife decided it was a really good time to vacuum.
I was wondering what you were looking at.
Yeah.
Well, I heard it, but I didn't know what it was. I wouldn't have known if you hadn't said.
There's a right above me is the glass door to go out to the backyard, and there's a mat right in front of that, and she was vacuuming that, I assume. So,
Yeah, Jerry, I always call that the e-stop the oh shit button.
yeah.
And as we've talked in the past, it wouldn't matter if that e-stop was this big or if it was this big.
Yeah.
You still can't hit it in time. Because usually by the time you realize something's gone south, it's already there. So they just put them there, I guess, to ease your mind or something. I don't know, but
they should call it a too late stop.
Yeah, because it's been very few times I've ever hit one in time, and in fact, I can't do it with these Gerbil machines, but in the I'm an old Mach 3 guy from way back in the day, and I still think that it's a good thing for maybe new people or maybe somebody's old like me and forgetful. But there's a place in Mach 3 where you can tell it to when you hit the start button the first time, it doesn't take off. I think the Z raises and then it pauses and asks you to check the tool or something. And I always tell people, especially new people, I go ahead and check that and don't uncheck it until you really got some experience, because it kind of gives you a safety net to go hit cycle start and you go, oh, wait a minute, do I have the right tool in? Is I load the right? Because a lot of that stuff that you forget, it gives you a second chance. Because if you think, well, I'll just hit the E stop button in time, nah, you won't.
Well, you're so excited to run a project or whatever. You're like, all right, let's go. And then you're like, oh, yeah. I forgot that.
I have ruined, back in the day, some really, I won't say they were really nice projects, but I just lost the time. But they had
like, potential to be really nice projects.
I do like a V carve or something, and it would be, something like a dadgum Aztec calendar or something that took, a couple of hours or so, and it ran perfect, and you get all excited. And then I'd mess it up because one, I'd put the bit that I'm like a 1/4 inch end mill that I'm going to part it out with, but I'd forget to load the new program. So I'd go to hit it and it's still doing the V-carve part, and it jams that in there. Or the opposite, I'd put the new program in there and forget to change the bit because I, stop, take a phone call or something. So like I said, with Mach 3, I always would tell people, keep that little box checked. And I couldn't even tell you where it's at now because I haven't looked at Mach 3 in a while, but it's in that general configuration page on the upper left-hand corner. In fact, I don't know if I got Mach 3 on this computer. I don't know if I do or not. If I do.
Jerry says that he's going to stop using candle. The other day he hit his end stop killing job and the wood went in the garbage. G-Sender found out you could run a perimeter of the job in advance.
G-Sender is my favorite of all the Gerbil type stuff. Yeah, I don't even have Mach 3 on this computer. I've never put it on here, so I can't show you. But yeah, you go to config, general config, and then it's on the top left-hand corner. I can't remember exactly what it says, but something about pause for tool change or something like that, because that's what it pops up and says. And it gives you an opportunity to go, okay, do I have the right tool in there? Did I load the right program? And then, of course, to get it going, you just hit cycle start the second time and it takes off. But it gives you that little safety net there. So, all right, we've been on here about an hour. Yeah, Jerry, I guess you might have been having better luck than I did with Candle, because with Candle, I don't know what operating system you're running, but in fact, during the show, I tried to show it, and I could install it, and it would open up and work one time. But then if I ever closed it out and go to open it up again, it wouldn't open. I'd have to delete it, reinstall it, and all that. And I'm like, well, I know I'm not going to use this. But the G-Sender by CNC Labs is my favorite. I think it's one of the best ones out there. The Haunted Mansion sign. Yeah, I saw that video the other day.
Yeah.
Also shut down last week, 2 hours in. I bet you were.
I would have been rather angry about that.
I mean, was it where you had your zero and stuff wrote down and you can, go back to it, or did you lose your work? That's why I always preach, right. Once you get your zeros and stuff set, look at your DROs and write them down on paper, because you can't ever tell whether a computer's going to work or not. If it messes up, you can always start back, especially if you've got homing switches and have a way to home your machine consistently.
I think if this would have happened to me, I know, I get it. It's a program on the computer. I would have downloaded it to a thumb drive just so I could set it on fire.
Well, that's usually how they come when you get one of these little new computers. They have it on thumb drive. It's probably on some of these SD cards I've got laying around.
That's the thing about, today, like programs and all that, like you have nothing physical that you can break when you're just tired of it, that you don't get that satisfaction of destroying it. Like it's just, you have a cup or something like that, and something breaks and you just want it. All you want to do is just let out your frustration, just smash it or something like that. And with a program, you just can't do that. Like there's just,
Yeah.
you have nothing you can do about it.
Now, Jerry, do you use VCarve Pro or VCarve Desktop or anything for your programming? And the reason I'm asking that is a few weeks ago, or I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that, on some of these things where I've shown how you can, it's not really a trick, it's just something that I do, and I shared it with some other people, and they hadn't thought of it. But if you select the STL file and then you have an outer vector, okay, Carco Maker. I don't know. Can't speak about that but I would guess it's probably got something similar. But I use the thing where I can select the STL file and then I tell it to not use the model boundary, but use a vector boundary, and then I create those where I want. Well, if you got something that's is going to be a really long carve, you can set it up and say, okay, do the STL and do this box. Then tomorrow when I come out here, we'll run the STL with this boundary, and you overlap them a little bit. But that way, if you're running and if you've got a toolpath set up with the STL running with a vector boundary, and that to run that part, it's going to be an hour, and it quits in the middle of it, you don't have to go back and start and run every little bit again. You can go back and run just that section again. And to me, that's a great way. That's the way I do anything I do now that I know is going to be real long. I always break it up into smaller things. Even if I'm going to be out here all day, it's still easier to go, okay, well, let's run the first one. That took an hour and a half. Okay, let's just load up the second one and do another hour. It's the same difference. I'm still out here all day, but if something happens when say I got 3 toolpaths, they all take 2 hours, and I'm into that 5 hour and 50 minutes worth. And on that last one, the power goes out or something gets jacked up. I ain't got to go all the way back to the square one and start and cut over. Now you can do that, but who wants to, run all that for nothing? But you can go just to that section, or you could even create a new vector and go, okay, it stopped right here. I can see on the workpiece where it stopped. So you just create a new vector right there that's kind of overlapping the other one before a little bit, and take off and go. And that I don't remember what show that was. It's probably longer than I think, but we're on show 14 now, and I don't remember which one it was. But anyway, if you go back and check some of them other podcasts from a few weeks ago, you'll find where I show how to do that. And to me, it really makes it easy.
I think it was like a month or so ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, maybe.
Which means that it was probably 2 months ago.
Well, that's the way I am. I'll think something was last week, and it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, well, it was within the last 14 weeks.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because all right, well, I guess need to crank up machine speeds. 3 hours finished pass. What's 10 hours according to the software? Okay. Well, again, talking about how I like to run, like with the rotary axis, I like to run the x-axis just because when you're doing that finishing pass, it's not taking much off. So you can really crank it up. You can just about max it out for as fast as you can get it to run. And it doesn't really matter whether it's a rotary or it's a flat 3D carve or 2.5D carve, whatever you want to call it. I had somebody leave a comment on one of my videos the other day, and they corrected me and said that is not a 3D carve. That's a 2.5D carve. And I thought, well, all I know is when you go to VCarve Pro, it says 3D roughing pass and 3D finishing pass. So I've always called them 3D carves, and I think a lot of people have too, but maybe not true 3D, but close enough for me. But anyway, I get a kick out of people that just, and then you click on their thing and they're like, they got no videos. They joined YouTube like 2 days ago. And it's like, that's all you got to do. You go join YouTube. First thing you do is go around and nitpick everybody's video. But anyhow, gotta love those trolls. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to get out of here. I don't see any more questions over here unless I've missed something. I don't think I have. So we'll get ready to get out of here. But Brian, before we go, what say you talk about your little Saturday gig?
Oh, okay. Yep. Saturday nights, 9:00. We're doing Making It Up As We Go, talking about the latest in CNCs, laser and 3D printing videos and all that good stuff. So come and hang out, and maybe I'll tell you another story about how I screwed something up pretty good. And we're also going to be talking about the
Why I watch
2024 Gatton Christmas Challenge, which is in full swing right now. So doing Christmas themed projects and making people make short video of it and get it submitted, and hopefully in January we'll do a show that we go over all the videos that were submitted and have be able to give away some cool prizes. So if you want some details on it, go to rballarddesigns.com, and there's a link there for the Christmas challenge page. So awesome.
All righty. And just in case somebody hasn't finished up their Christmas shopping, you can go to the NymoLabs website. This is the MBX 5040, which is what I was running today with the Rotary Axis. Or you can check out the 6040, which is slightly more expensive machine and just a little bit bigger. It's about 4 inches wider than the 5040. But if you haven't finished your Christmas shopping and you've been good this year, why be sure and check those out. And if you look at the ticker going across the bottom there, I have a discount code. So if you use that when you shop on the NymoLabs website, you get 10% off your whole order. So be sure and check that out.
Good times.
All righty. Paul, you got anything else to?
The only thing I can say is I'm starting this weekend with good intentions of getting my 3D printer out of the box.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Okay. Well, I hope you do. I've heard, in fact, let's see, you got the A1, right?
I got the A1, yeah.
With the AMS?
Yep.
Okay. See, that's what I had originally thought about getting. So I've heard so many good things about those. So I look forward to seeing what you do with it. Ryan, of course, you got the show coming up Saturday. Anything else going on? Still hanging lights, I guess?
Oh, yeah. Hanging lights like crazy. So.
Okay. Hope you're obeying all traffic laws and all of
that. knock on wood.
All righty. Well, I guess I should hit this before I get out of here too. This is I always forget to show this one. If you want to join the NymoLabs CNC user group on Facebook, you can hit that QR code and that'll take you right to it. And let me get this banner cut off here. I guess we'll we'll get ready to get out of here then. So I appreciate everybody hanging around. I hope you got something out of this. If you got any questions that I didn't answer and you forgot to put in the live chat before we got out of here, just put them down in the comments below. I always go back and check to see if there's any questions or something I missed. So, but other than that, we will see y'all next week. And like I said, I'll run that Coke bottle. I'll probably run the roughing pass because that'll be the noisiest. And then I'll try to figure out how long the finishing pass is going to take. And I'll run, try to time it where I can run it during the show because it won't be too loud to run that. So we can watch that go while we talk about some other kind of nonsense. All righty. Well, good night, everybody. And we will see y'all next week.
See you.